to a secondary set of appliances, and we need to get somebody into our data center potentially to go through and in some cases restart these boxes or replace these boxes if there is one issue. And again, as I mentioned before, that causes a level of anxiety for most CISOs. One of the biggest issues is scalability. So as we start looking at, again, broadening our scope of consumption of cloud services, again, these boxes unfortunately do not scale. You will have to go back to a vendor, perhaps buy a bigger box. You maybe even have to, again, upgrade your MPLS lines to deal with that volume of traffic. As I mentioned, sessions going from 10,000 sessions to 200,000 concurrent sessions a day. When we start thinking about that per application, again, these appliances unfortunately just do not scale. And then again, going back to the, I guess the primary concern is this cost, this ongoing cost of maintenance, of procurement, of every 3 to 5 years replacing these appliances becomes very, very costly. So again, of course, the approach is to go with, well, why not look at cloud? Look at outsourcing the majority of this work, this concern, making sure that you're again streamlining as many processes as possible, and of course keeping your employees happy with their preferred solution, which is again to go direct to net, direct to cloud. In many cases, you'll also reduce latency, add security, add visibility, and start thinking about how you can appropriately secure that traffic and the data that's going to the cloud services. So we start thinking about these types of microservices that can run within a cloud environment. Again, these things, these microservices can quickly be applied to any level of traffic. And again, cloud works on a grid computing system. So if there isn't capacity, it can quickly scale without having to go in and rack additional appliances, or as I said, upgrade those MPLS lines. And then when we start thinking about, well, what other things do we need? If we're now going back to that previous model of steering all of our traffic through to the cloud, we need to make sure that, again, it isn't something that our employees can easily bypass, or in many cases accidentally bypass. That the control is always on, the control can always apply our controls and policies. So we start thinking about how we secure that. And the easiest way to do that is through a lightweight traffic steering client that enforces always on protection from a cloud and a web perspective as well. So when I also start thinking about these cost savings, they scale across a multitude of categories. And the most common is, again, just giving our employees access to the services they need when they need them, rather than having to wait weeks and sometimes months to build these applications. So by enabling a multi-cloud strategy, we can already start thinking about, well, our savings around connection and infrastructure costs. The average is around a 30% saving. We can also think about a 20% future cloud cost saving by the kind of speed that we can quickly procure and utilize these services without having to think about additional security, because again, we have security already in place. It's just an additional application we apply a set of policies to. And we can also minimize shadow IT, which is a big concern for organizations today, especially as they start thinking about business continuity, when they start thinking about the financial risk that some of the shadow IT providers may be impacted by, that may ultimately impact your business processes. We can then look at VPN replacement, long-term VPN replacement. So again, replacing VPN appliances with a zero trust network access publisher instead of virtual appliance, a piece of software that you can run without needing an appliance to provision access to those on-premise applications that your employees will still need access to. And of course, we can start thinking about the traffic flows. If we see large volumes of traffic going direct to web and cloud applications, steering that directly rather than having to route that back through a data center makes, again, it's common sense to do that. We've seen with video conferencing as one example, again, the huge levels of bandwidth that video conferencing consumes. And it's not just the appliances that fail, it is that, again, your connection, your internet connection point out. For many organizations that may run gig links, we're already in many cases causing issues by routing all our video conferencing traffic through. And of course, we've seen the rise of attacks on video conferencing platforms. So again, it makes perfect sense to ensure that the security is also applied to those platforms. We can also start thinking about reducing our VLAN and firewall policy changes. Organizations that run a hub-spoke model will have teams of people that work weekends and evenings to make these changes because they can't be made during working hours. So thinking about how we can actually reduce that complexity is key. The final 2 points around managing business partners, making sure that we're giving our third parties, again, secure access to those applications, not, for instance, giving our business partners access to our network, which adds a level of greater risk. I know in my experience, giving third parties access to networks means additional monitoring, means additional IDS and IPS and firewalls to manage their access, to ensure that everything is segregated, when actually all they need access to is perhaps 1 or 2 applications. I can give that access directly using a zero trust network access solution. And also when we start thinking about M&A, now, of course, the predictions are already in. M&A activity has ceased pretty much since the pandemic, but in a post-pandemic world, there will be, of course, a multitude increase in the levels of M&A occurring. And organizations are already looking at this, and boards of organizations are already looking at how quickly they can onboard an acquisition, or if there is a merger between two organizations, how quickly, again, they can consolidate their services together. And again, looking at a cloud-based solution, all it is a case of routing traffic and applying policy. No need to ship appliances, no need to, again, universally agree which is the best solution for which organization. A cloud-based solution can cover those types of challenges. And of course, there are cost savings associated to this as well. The onboarding 5 times efficiency, the hardware cost reduction. These are all things that, again, I think from a CISO's perspective are great wins that can be used to both, again, support their decisions and also make you feel better at the end of the day that you're doing the best for your organization in terms of, again, cost savings and efficiency. So those are just some examples. Of course, we're seeing the change. The majority of change, as I mentioned already before, is that the way that we work is changing. The workplace is no longer a place. We're already expecting in 2021 the average organization to have a larger than ever seen before remote workforce. And they're not just using, employees are not just using browsers, they're using sync clients and applications, and majority of that traffic is encrypted. So the only way really to do this at scale is to look at a security cloud platform. And this is the ultimate goal, really, to move organizations to a sustainable platform, a security cloud platform that has tight integrations with your identity providers to manage identity, secure access through access control, endpoint exchange information to secure the endpoint, and exchange and collaborate with threat intel through the endpoint to the security cloud, your defense in depth approach. And then for everything else that we can't prevent against, we may need detection capabilities or additional analytics. We can work directly with a UEBA or SOAR platform as part of this. So our response actions can be, in many cases, automated through a detection model as well. And this is where Netskope sit. Netskope sit in that security cloud approach with the ability to run inline traffic through to web, SaaS, IaaS, PaaS, to offer zero trust network access capability to ensure, again, organizations are working as efficiently as possible with the right layers of protection. And with that, I'm open to questions. I think it's probably best we take questions over email. So you can see my email address there. A really easy email address to remember, it's nthacker@netscope.com. And with that, I'll pass back to Vikas and Ujjwal for the next part of the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Neil. Excellent session. So Ujjwal, you are on. Go ahead, please.
Hey, good morning all. And I'm going to start sharing my screen out here quickly as we get started. Okay.
Yes, Ujjwal, we can see.
I would want to just pause here and just allow me a moment here. And okay, sorry about that. Bringing up the PowerPoint. Right, there we are. Well, let's get started with this session. And first of all, let me thank you all for taking time out and being here today. The title of this session is Fortify Your Mind. Now, first of all, I would like to thank Netskope team. Neil, thank you for that fantastic presentation and congratulations on crossing the 28-month boundary. I hope you continue to do that. I thank Vikas and Rishi from the EliteCISO organization. Thank you for the invite to participate, and indeed a privilege to interact with such an evolved audience. Some of you have known me, some of you have known about me, and you still invited me and embraced the risk for me to be here. So thank you. That is indeed a demonstration of risk appetite by the security community that I was a part of. My name is Ujjwal Chablani, and I am from your tribe. And that's what I used to do. So previous to discovering my passion for coaching, I practiced my trade for 25 years, starting with network and data center support as a technologist back in the 90s, working for the engineering giant Bechtel for almost a decade, to serving IBM in diverse technology and management roles. I was the enterprise IT leader for IBM's business process services approximately 8-9 years ago, 2011. And finally, my last stint in technology was with the legal services pioneer UnitedLex as the leader for technology transformation and global IT operations. A path which may sound very familiar, very similar to the career choices made by many of you. So currently, I'm thrilled to be part of a team where people very similar to my own journey have had a rich set of experiences within their domains: finance, financial advisory, telecom, energy and power, consulting, and sales. And then our individual trajectories kind of brought us together to combine our industry experience with what we do today, which is brain-based engagement and contextual coaching. And we practice this with our passion about coaching and contribution. So as I prepared for today's session, I kind of asked myself, what is my mind telling me right now? Is it focusing on topics about the pandemic out there? Or is it highlighting to me all that seems to be falling apart, and all that is inaccessible to me, all that is locked down? And yes, indeed, it is. That's what my mind is doing. For sure, this is not a business continuity or disaster recovery mock. This is not. This is a far cry from many real and critical business impacting situations that I handled in my career, that I personally dealt with. So I realized I really do not have experience about what I would be going through. I can think about what I would be going through if I were still the IT leader or a security leader in a corporate, but I didn't really have hands-on experience to that. So I reached out and spoke with some of my friends in technology roles, in leadership roles, business operations. And as I spoke with them, and also hearing what Neil shared earlier today, a couple of observations and themes kind of emerged. The sheer amount of hours working in the current lockdown situation, dealing with the surprises at the workplace, the unknowns, combined with the concerns and challenges of self and family. I mean, we are all people dealing with the issues that were non-issues previously. That's amongst the top issues they were sharing with. And then added to this, the dilution of the control boundary. And Neil spoke about it as well. I mean, the anxiety comes from not what is known, but what continues to get added to the list of the unknown. Especially within you guys, I mean, the information security community. All that is sending the brain into a tizzy. So let me ask you as well, is that the case with you? Now, Please confirm my understanding by typing a yes in the chat if you feel that that is the case with you as well. That you are facing unprecedented amount of work and you are facing unprecedented amount of stress based on what all are you seeing out there. So is dilution of control boundary a challenge? And have you worked more in the past 5 weeks than ever before? If that is the case, just type a yes. Okay, I'm starting to see a lot of yeses pop up there. Fantastic. Well, let me give you one simple fact about this. If your brain isn't busy, then it is doing its job. That's what it's supposed to do. The way the heart pumps blood, the brain is processing the inputs, and then it gives you a response based on learned behavior and patterns. So in case of certain situations, you are moving forward, whereas in other cases, in other situations, you are getting stopped. It may be critical for you that in those situations, you actually need to leapfrog. You need to move forward with momentum. And right now, you don't have an access as to how to do it. So the question is, how do we manage this? Can we selectively turn a switch and consciously use the very tool that seems to stop us from moving forward for actually propelling us forward? I have discovered for myself the answer that sure, yes, we can. But the best person I know for explaining how we can do this to all of us is my partner, Vibhuti Sharma. And before I hand it over to him, I'm just going to run through a quick introduction to Vibhuti. He's a renowned coach and trainer, and he's got over 25 years of very rich experience in financial advisory and consulting, with having worked for logos like McKinsey, A.T. Kearney, Ernst & Young. He's a corporate trainer who specializes in coaching and in transformational training for very large corporates. He's a leadership, productivity, and efficiency coach to many, many senior executives. Over to you, Vibhuti, to address the question, how can we use our brain in a manner that can take us forward, but at will?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ujjwal, for that introduction. And before I answer that question, yeah, I think, Ujjwal, a couple of comments are coming around.
Sorry, Vibhuti, there was a black patch. Okay, now it is gone. That's fine. Please go ahead.
Okay, sure, because thank you for pointing that out.
Sure.
So thank you, Ujjwal, for that introduction and that question. But before I go to that question, I am so overwhelmed by seeing all you highly intelligent, sharp, successful people, here on a webinar and open to learning. It tells me something about the kind of person that you are. So really, really, really a big acknowledgement and appreciation from my side for your willingness to learn about this. Now, whatever I'm going to share with you over the next 20 odd minutes is something, very passionate to me. The whole design of the brain. And your being here, your attending this session is actually allowing me to do something that I love to do. So really, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your participation. One of the things I want you to know is, and just to get everybody connected, is that you may be in different perspectives right now. A perspective can be, I know what they are going to be talking about in brain science. Another perspective could be, I don't know what they're going to talk about. A third perspective could be, I'm excited to be here. A fourth could be, oh, I'm not interested in being here, but let's wait and see what happens. Now, whichever perspective you are, in right now. That's fine with us. My only request is, please take something of value for yourself. And how you take value for yourself is by just settling yourself that it is fine for you to have that perspective. That you may be skeptical, you may be excited, you don't want to hear it. It's fine for you to have that perspective. And yet you can give yourself the little door and opening to actually allow yourself to take something from this session. And why am I saying that? Why am I saying that is because one of the facets that drives me is my vision that people actually enable action in their life. Enable action. You know, people take on being their best versions at all times. And especially during this time when we are faced with adversity, we are faced with the unknown, and we are grappling with issues every day. So let this be a small contribution, you know, to you from that aspect wherein you take for yourself something of value. So clearly, thank you once again for being here. And to answer Ujjwal's question, and I'll specifically read that question out for you. Can you at will forward your brain, you know, to move in an outcome that you want? Ujjwal, I think it would be helpful. I have it written, but it would be helpful if you spoke it as it was said so that we can start from there.
Absolutely. Happy to do that, Vibhuti. So my question was, how can we use our brain in a manner that can take us forward at will?
Yeah, I think that's so beautifully said. That's so beautifully said. So yes, you can. The straight answer to that is yes, you can. And how you can, before I get into the how you can, I want to do a small exercise with you. And this is an exercise which is equally compelling and at the same time is astoundingly simple. So the exercise is all about, I'm going to show you a simple pen, a writing pen. Now the question that has been asked to me, view this as, can you use this pen at will? If the answer is yes, you can use this pen at will. The corollary is yes, you can use your mind, your brain to forward you at will. Now, how does that happen? How that happens is you actually need to understand the design principle of this pen. So this pen has a certain design to it. And I'll actually pause here for you to let that word sink in. What does he mean by design? So actually, the design means that you can use this pen only if you remove the lid on top. Then you can use this pen. That means you understand the design principle of using a pen. But it doesn't stop here, does it? You know, the next step obviously is that you have to take the tip of the pen and put it on paper and then scribble. And that is where you'll be able to use the pen. So I'm hereby, you know, just pausing for a minute and asking you, are there more design elements of this pen that you think are needed for you to write effectively? If yes, please respond on the chat. The question is already displayed on the screen, which is, please write any additional design elements for the pen to work. So, yeah, it should have ink. Very good. One of the comments was, yes, it should have ink. Somebody else. Grip of the pen. Yeah, grip of the pen. Yeah, should have ink. So ink is already there. Easy on the grip is already there. Anything else? Size. Yeah, that's great. Tip should be there. Okay. Cap, we have already discussed, Urvish. Smoothness, for sure. Color, for sure. Okay. Okay, great. I can see that you've got it. Very good. Okay, everybody pause. Everybody pause. Everybody pause. Everybody pause. Yeah. Okay, Umesh, everybody pause. Great. Two elements that I would still like to add, which I did not see while I was browsing through the comments. One is there has to be a paper or a surface on which you have to write. Yeah. And the other one could be, and this is very intrinsic to a human, the willingness to actually write. So the pen by itself will not write. The willingness to actually use this pen. And this simple example actually illustrates in most of our situations how we relate to our brain. So our relationship to the brain is also like that. Once you understand the design principle of the brain and all the elements that run in it, then there is no reason for you not to use it at will. The only thing that can probably stop you is your willingness. So therefore, one of the things we emphasize is that one needs to know the design principle. Yeah, Umesh. So I will not take any chats right now. We'll keep it for later. But I am taking your comments as they are coming. So coming back, while there is a design principle involved, there is a willingness principle involved as well. And right now, given where all of you are, I do not see any reason that the willingness is missing. I'm clear that there is willingness in you once you get the design of the brain, because you really want to use it right now. This is the time to move forward. And whatever we are faced with, this is the best time to understand the design of the brain. So what are we going to do next? I'm going to give you two elements of the design of the brain, two elements, which will give you an immediate access on how to manage your day-to-day work. So the first element, here goes the first element. The first element of the brain, very critical that we work on this, is the element wherein the brain takes on the functions that it does every day and tends to automate them. It takes all the actions that you do every day regularly and tends to automate that. So I can give you an example right now. Everybody, even though your screens, some of your videos are switched off, please cross your arms. And I'll just shift my screen a little for you to see. Cross your arms the way that you normally do. Okay. Ujjwal, can you see me properly?
Yes, I can, Vibhuti.
Okay, great.
I'm going to do the same.
Thank you. Now, I want you to shift the position of your arms. The arm which is on top has to go down, and the palm which is on top has to go under. Just do that. Very simple exercise. In a sense, first you crossed your arms, and then I'm asking you to reverse the position. What are you observing? What are you observing when you are reversing your arms? Please type on the chat. Yeah, Punish, very well said. Discomfort. Okay, uneasy. A little bit discomfort, not resistance. Difficult to adjust to situation, not the same. Feels odd. Yeah, Tony, that's great. Uncomfort, not as cognitive as the first posture. Very good. And I'm saying very good with the level of insights you're generating. Brain is unwilling, Parthasarthi. Yeah, great. It's all in the mind, Saurabh. Okay. Okay, good. It feels weird, Ashton. Yeah. DM, unnatural. Very good. Devashish wrote, takes effort. Yeah. Sanjeev says brain was hesitant. Manish, mental inertia. Okay, everybody. Great, great, great. Point there. Now that's the automatic part of the brain that I'm actually displaying to you. The brain tends to do regular pieces of work as it has designed itself. So you will naturally go here. You just need to be aware of this part now, because I'm going to use this analogy in saying that if this is the part of how the brain works, then it comes to a very simple conclusion that even your day-to-day jobs, even the work that you do, there is a lot of automatic response. There is a lot of learned response. There is a lot of pattern that you already have displayed that you fall back on regularly. So you have developed ways to handle situations. And then you go back and fall on them again and again and again. And this, whenever somebody says shift to a new way of doing things, all that you mentioned on the chat, the brain has those same experiences. Can range from discomfort to resistance to feel odd to feel weird. Now, I want you really to know that it is not personal to you. This is the good news. It is not personal to you. This is the design of the brain. It will do that. Just let it absorb you. Please just absorb it. It will do it. As the heart pumps blood, and it will continue to do so, the brain will keep on making patterns, learned behavior, from which it gives automatic responses to situations. It is nothing unique to you. It is nothing to, be a little defensive about or get worried about. That's the way it is. So just relax, let it be. And that brings an awareness. Yeah, the job of this organ is to actually automate regular pieces of work and have you do that as part of your learned behavior, personal past experiences and patterns. Okay, good. So this is one major part of the brain. Then there is the second part of the brain, which is what we call the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex has, yeah, thank you, Ujjwal, for putting this chart in. I was just asking you. Yeah. So Ujjwal, just put that on the screen. So this is the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is where the solutioning, the thinking, the analysis exists. Here in your automatic part of the brain, identified, analyzed, and past experiences already stay and they make you work automatically. But new solutioning, new thinking, new planning lies in the prefrontal cortex. Some of the people actually say this is the most recent addition to our brain. So what does PFC do? Let me reiterate: creativity, thinking, analysis, solutioning. But PFC comes with a very, tricky characteristic, which is that it takes a lot of glucose and energy whenever you use your PFC. And you would notice it that whenever you've been working on Excel or you've been solutioning or you've been working on, projects which required computation, one tends to get tired faster. That is because the PFC draws a huge amount of energy and the brain typically keeps on shutting it down. And that's why once it has drawn that energy, it tires you out. But the other aspect is when the PFC operates at that point of time, also the PFC is fussy. And gets distracted very easily. And I'm sure all of you professionals know that at some point of time, you may be working, and you would be deep in your analysis. And what happens? Let's say a ping comes or a notification comes on your cell phone, which may be from a group that is not related to the work group. And at that point of time, what happens? You pick up the phone. Yes, no? Please type yes if you do that. And you are doing important work at that point of time. And you know it, that you're doing important work. And you're doing that analysis. Yeah. And then how much time? Yeah, great. All the time. Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, fantastic. Great insight. Yeah, it likes to get distracted. Absolutely, very well said, Parthasarthi. It likes to get distracted. The PFC just gets distracted. So what happens? Yeah, all the ladies as well. Mansi, thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, thank you. So what happens? It actually distracts you. The PFC is fussy, it distracts you. Everybody, please pause your comments and just stay here with the conversation. It distracts you. While the PFC gives you creativity, it gives you solutioning, it gives you thinking. At the same time, it draws a lot of energy, so it tires you, and it is by nature very fussy, so it will easily get distracted. And once it gets distracted, the time to distraction and coming back may range from 1 minute to 20 minutes to an hour also. And for each, each one of you have their own experience for that. Now, here's the key part, and I'm just conscious that we have very active participation here. So I want to ask you right now, given you've understood, you've taken these two parts, and in today's world, it is crucial that you keep your PFC up and running, because you guys are at the solutioning forefront. How will you manage it with the brain playing truant the way it does? What are you now going to do as an action to manage your PFC so that you can stay focused? Please put that on the comment section right now. What do you think you can do? Don't resist this from the perspective that, oh, why does the brain do that? That's what the brain does. Now, how are you going to manage yourself? Okay. Shut down for a few things. Kuljit, maybe you want to just elaborate a little on this. Yeah. Have time, a set time for taking strategy. Mansi, that's a great point. Yeah. Scheduling better. Okay. By asking what is, yeah, not to be impulsive. Every 30 minutes, take a break. Purposefully tell the mind it's not the time for that task. Take breaks when required. Prioritize. Not to be distracted. Yeah. Relax a bit. Record the thoughts. Great input. Meditate. Practice for focus. Meditate. Yeah. Deep breathing. One of my favorites. Refocus. Keep feeding it with energy. Definitely not sweets. DM. Okay. You had a yoga exercise as well. Yeah. Think before reacting. Yeah, absolutely. Now, and I want all of you to actually put this in small post-its, what works for you on your computer, so that you remember it. It is not something that you should keep in your mind. It is something that should be in front of you when you're doing your work. That you will get distracted. Full stop. Period. There's nothing else. You will get distracted. That's the design element. The design element of the pen is that there is a cap. There is a cap. And the cap, this is the function of the cap. This is the design element of the pen. The design element of the brain is the PFC, while being used, will get distracted. And your job is to get it back. Whatever helps you get it back. And you gave a couple of points. Use them. Take from each other as well. Keep smaller schedules. We have smaller schedules of 20 minutes each, 10 minutes each. Do one job for 10 minutes. See whether you are in it, on it, your PFC is working or not working. Move forward. Do that. Keep your PFC alive. In fact, one of a very powerful, simple structure is take a friendship band. A friendship band, wear it on your wrist and just tweak it a little when you think you're getting distracted. Just keeps you focused. Try it. Because the physical impact will go and kick you back into solutioning. Yeah. Okay. Now, what are the implications of, very important for you now to see what is the implication of what I've just shared with you. The implication of what I have shared with you is that your brain, your roles, your brain has a tendency to use what has already worked for you in the past and push you into doing that. So you need to be careful about that now. Oh, it's pushing me there. It's making me do things the way I've understood them to do. Just need to be cognizant, just need to be aware, just need to manage yourself. And the second part is keep your PFC alive. You are right now, you'll be able to manage yourself like who moved my cheese, who moved my cheese, rather than going again and again into the same tunnel and no cheese there. You can actually pause, use this and go back.
And Vibhuti, I would want to add something out there, what Neil spoke about earlier. Now we are in a situation, and specifically for the CISO community, there will be anxiety and thoughts relating to budgets, cost, capex, scalability. Not all of it needs to be addressed right now. All those things are there. However, one of the things that is very relevant is to be in that moment. And as you rightly said, just come out of what the brain is saying about worrying about all those things and just focus on the task right now. Just snap back into that moment. And that's very relevant.
Yeah, thanks, Ujjwal. Okay. So whatever makes you calm, Ashish, very well said, whatever makes you calm. Now I've given you 2 design principles and I hope they were of value to you. Once you actually work with us, there is a whole lot of design principles and elements of the brain that we work with that brings across huge shifts in people and in their ability to A, identify when they are getting stopped, and then B, develop the muscle to move beyond. But the practices I've given you today by themselves are also absolutely completed themselves. So you can use these as well to move forward. In our workshops, and I just want to share 1 minute about our workshops. We actually use coaching, the design-based coaching, in getting people out of their automatic pilot and move into a conscious thought process, whether it be you, your teams, and your organization. So I hope this was of value to you. Ujjwal, I think we should open up for some questions, and if there are any. And thank our acknowledge our sponsors.
Absolutely. Let's do that. And as you rightly said, Vibhuti, that while we have spoken in the brief time that we had about a couple of design principles that may be of immediate use, we are certainly available, and through the EliteCISO team, our contacts are available for the people on the webinar today to identify and through our workshops, identify barriers they don't yet see, identify the prowess that they may not have yet used, and synergies and opportunities that the teams may not have brought together. And when we say workshops, we're not talking of things that are long drawn. The beauty of the brain-based conversation, a simple thing like identifying the design element of a pen, correlating with the brain, and then coming out with, yes, it is supposed to work this way, and I get it. Getting that design principle just leapfrogs forward the learning, and it just does not require the same amount of training or coaching that would be needed. In fact, that thought that how can I get effective shift in how I work today without going for a 4-day training, even that is a shift. Because right in this moment, once you get it, that becomes self-propelled, and we are there to support on that. But at the same time, I would want to open up for the questions, keep typing, and we will capture that, and we will have available to us the names and details of the people, and we would respond back through email as well. And certainly was very, very, I would say, satisfying for me to be in such august company and share the thoughts that Vibhuti and I could, and really appreciate the opportunity that everyone's given us. Thank you.
Thank you.
EliteCISOs team. Thank you, Vibhuti.
Thanks, Vibhuti. Thanks, Ujjwalji. There are certain questions in the Q&A, Neil. If you want to take a look and respond to those.
I think he has, Vikas. And he's doing right now.
I've answered a few. There's a few more coming in if we have time, that is.
Yeah, we'll just give it 2 minutes. And by that time, I think I would like to thank everyone for joining in. I know our objective has always been that you should get something out of the session when it is just not another webinar and monologues. And that's the reason we try and find some creativeness around mental well-being, physical well-being, and that's been our theme along with cybersecurity, which is on top agenda at this time. And I know everybody's time is precious, and we have to make sure that you get value out of these sessions. So thank you very much. As Neil responds to your question in another 2 minutes, but I think Neil has already shared his email address, and you can reach out.
Sorry, Rishi, you want to mention about the Zero Trust architecture series that we are planning, and maybe we will get one of the father of Zero Trust.
So for next few, we will talk about only Zero Trust. That's the buzzword right now, which means that you cannot trust anyone, right? Neither insiders or outsiders. All this while we've been living in the world where we are most concerned about outsiders. Considering that we are moving work at home, everybody is an outsider for us, right? And we want to make sure what comes in gets inspected, what goes out gets inspected, and your crown jewels are always protected. So we will be having series. Next time, I think I won't give the name, but search for father of Zero Trust VPN who really invented this concept. And we'll get him on a webinar. I'm just trying to get some time on his calendar. It might be a short notice. The guy is really in demand. And we'll invite you all, and that session will be pretty useful for all of us. Although I can give a stab on all the questions that are coming on Netskope, but I'll give Neil a chance to respond to those questions because